Alright, what's up y'all? This is a little different of a vlog than I've put out before, which is kind of exciting. Honestly, I've had the idea for a few months, maybe not a few months, quite a few weeks, doing some type of voiceover. I did this vlog, this cooking vlog, like a couple months ago, and I was just like, this is a meal that I make every day, let me just record it and put it into a vlog. And then I'm like, well, what else am I gonna do? I'm not talking on it, I'm just cooking. So I'm like, let me do a voiceover, let me do like a Q&A type thing. Okay, so for my questions, question one is from Heather Parody. She commented on a YouTube vlog a while ago of me asking, hey, what do you guys want to hear? And then I went silent. So her question is, I'd like to hear what's the latest with Gary and Mary. Are you writing comedy? How's rapping? Lots of questions. So the latest with Gary and Mary, I'm continuing making sketches for them. I did one episode of Gary Eats with a local business, Brown Bag Bistro. I realized it's just kind of hard to do it with, like, the camera guy I got was off of Craigslist and he was cool, but getting other people to help me film and then scheduling was kind of a mess. I'm just like, maybe this isn't the right time. Even though I really enjoyed it, planned to do it for another restaurant, but again, scheduling just wasn't working out. But I did enjoy writing for it, so for now I'll just continue to write sketches and put them on my social media channels, which has been really fun, and like releasing the pressure off of them, because I used to put a lot of pressure on myself for them, being like, oh my god, this has to be the next viral one. Kind of silly. Writing comedy, I'm making sketches, other sketches besides Gary and Mary, and putting them online. I'm not like writing scripts right now, although I do have 3 pilots. I have a movie script somewhere. I lost it, but I fully have the idea in my head. And that's about it for comedy. If other opportunities come up, which I'm not sure what, but I would love to write comedy. Rapping. So I was doing music and working with an engineer out of South Africa. She's very cool. I had to pause that. You can go back to my vlogs and you can see I re-released my first album, which I'll keep on Spotify. Re-released my 4 singles that I had, 4 or 5, put them on Spotify again, and I'm gonna keep them there because I'm not gonna keep on taking them off and putting them back on. But I released a brand new song either September or October, I can't remember, I think September, called You Feel It, and that's on Spotify. Really, it was just kind of a therapy song for me. Said a lot of things that I wanted to say that I feel like I wasn't able to say, and I feel like that's what music is for me. And then I have another song coming out in November called All I Need, which I'm really excited about, just, to have it for me. It's also a cool song for future self or past self, for just some things I needed to say, and it's kind of like an inspirational song. It's got an inspirational beat. I already have that scheduled. It's going out. I already have the artwork. I already have everything. It's ready. But I have like half of an album made that I was planning on releasing in 2026, but I decided not to spend my time on that right now. It's always there if I want to go back to it. It's got some great songs and great messages on it. I feel like I'd like to focus on comedy right now. So that's what I've been doing, and vlogging. So that's how Gary and Mary are. I'm writing comedy and rapping. So thank you for the questions, Heather. Appreciate that. Hope I answered them. Another question, what's inspiring me creatively now? Just life, really. A lot of my content recently has been ideas I've gotten from life, just interactions that I have outside of my home or even inside of my home. And it's been really fun just allowing that flow of seeing something and thinking that's funny, putting it down in my notes, at some point sitting down and writing that out. And I'll usually do that a few at a time. And it's just nice to, I guess, have built that comedic lens and just my own lens and what I think is funny, and allow life to flow through me. I don't have to do anything extra. I just need to live life, and then ideas naturally pop up from that, which is fun because a lot of people can relate to those type of things. So life is just inspiring me creatively right now. Here's another question. What am I creating for me, not the algorithm? It's very interesting. So the past few months, I've been trying to, not think about the algorithm, but there are 2 types of people. There's like an artist, I feel, and then there's the artist who makes money. And at times I've thought, well, I don't want to sell out. I'm a pure artist. I do whatever ideas I want. But at the same time, you have an audience you have to please. If you want to be a successful artist, you have to think about your audience. I feel like I've resisted that because I didn't want to sell out. But now I realize that I can please the audience, you guys, and also come to these ideas creatively as a pure artist. It's been interesting because the more I do that, the more I like what I'm making because people respond to it. But like my videos, I can always tell when I like one of my videos is I will watch them over and over and over again. And recently I've been doing that with my videos. But there was a time, there's probably been many times, where I'll make a video that's like for the audience, or maybe just this far out idea that I'm like, I just have to make this, to where I never want to watch it again. I just want to put it out there and I never want to watch it again. But the most fun is when I want to watch my videos over and over. And that's what I've been doing recently. So it's been interesting creating for myself and creating not necessarily for the algorithm, but for the audience. And I think that's really what the algorithm is anyway. You make what your audience likes, or the audience on social media likes, and the algorithm will favor that. But, I think people kind of hack it in a way, and they aren't necessarily pure, but who am I to judge? Another question, what does starting over look like when you've already started over before? So this is interesting because I've started over, quote unquote, many times. I've moved from, my hometown of 600 people to St. Louis, then to LA, then to Atlanta, then to New York for a couple months, then back to Atlanta, now back home in my hometown. And it's not necessarily starting over, like your circumstances you may feel like you're starting over in, but for me, I'm continuing. Sometimes it can be nice to think of it as starting over, but sometimes it can be like depressing as starting over. It's like I feel like I'm starting from zero. That's not actually the case. If we just want to talk about comedy, I have 10 years of experience doing comedy, doing music. I should just say, like, artistically. After graduating from college, I'm not starting over. I'm just continuing the process and the journey. It's funny because it's all in our heads when we say we're starting over. It's how do we feel about that? How do we think about that? And then that really dictates how we live our life. So if we're like starting over, it can be like, I can be anyone I want. I can be that person that I've always wanted to be. That's a positive way of starting over. But if you're like starting over, like, who am I? What am I even doing? What does this all mean? It's different. And I've felt both of them. But I think when I am actually aware of what I'm thinking, I want to lean towards wow, I get to start fresh with everything that I've learned. I get to bring that to the table. So yeah, I feel like that's what starting over, quote unquote, looks like to me. Another question is, what part of my story am I still learning to own? I think the part I'm still learning to own is the idea of starting over, of like what I just said. Just because I'm starting over, quote unquote, and my journey doesn't look like all of these other people's journeys, doesn't mean it's not valid, doesn't mean it's not worthy, doesn't mean it's not purposeful, doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean I did something bad. So I'm learning to own my whole story. And I think maybe people think as an artist, you have that artist phase where you're a starving artist, and then you get more and more popular, and then you get more and more successful, and then you get famous, etc., etc. And like that's the trajectory as an artist, because I think that's like the mainstream journey. But for myself, my journey as an artist has been up and down, up and down, up and down, but it continues. And I think that's really the only part that matters. I had a conversation, I think it was with my coach, Kat. We're in the group coaching setting, and she said something about like, you don't fail unless you quit. And I think that's the part that I'm learning to own. It's like, I've never failed because I've never quit. Have I had the idea of quitting? I mean, maybe, but like, what the hell else would I do? I think that's what kind of stops me, is like, what am I gonna go be an accountant? Like, why is that the first thing that comes to mind? What would I do? This seems so natural to me, or it seems habitual to me, which actually goes into the last question for today's Q&A, and that is, it's actually from Kat. What does Shay want just for Shay? And I was thinking about this a couple days ago. What would I do if I already had all the money in the world? If I already had the fortune or whatever, just more than enough money. Sometimes I feel like I am chasing that a little bit because I want stability. I want to be successful with my work. But what if I already had that? What would I be doing? And I would be doing this. I would be vlogging my life. If I had all the fortune in the world, I would have somebody vlog, film me. and vlog, making my own TV shows, making my own movies. I want to create in my way, on my terms, because I feel like there have been many situations where creatively I have compromised myself. I've compromised my creativity, I've compromised my character, I've compromised my situations, my friendships. What I've learned recently is I stopped compromising and I'm still able to do the things I love on my terms. And so if I had more money, then I would be hiring people to continue to help me create and do it on my terms. Sometimes in the past, I felt like I didn't have the power, or I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the influence to do things on my terms, so I compromised. And so what does Shay want just for Shay? She wants no compromise. She wants creativity, creation, putting things out in the world on her terms, on my terms. And so that's it. Those are the questions for the Q&A. If you have more, please put them in the comments and I will save them for the next Q&A. I will see you on the next one. Thanks, y'all.